Okay, so hi everyone, this is Bre'anna, and I'm coming to you a little bit late. We're like on episode 3 of the Bachelor season with Matt James, but I think there's a lot of episodes left, so I hope I'm not too late and I can still gain an audience with you guys. I just wanted to review today's episode, and I'm just gonna jump right into it. Okay, so we started out as a continuation from last episode. So the previous episode, we were at the rose ceremony with Victoria and Mari Lynn, I believe. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. And we have to figure out who's going to get Matt's rose for the rose ceremony. Is it going to be one of them? Is it going to be both of them? Is it going to be neither of them, as we've seen play out different ways in previous seasons? And then, right at the very end of the last episode, are we episode 3? Are we episode 4? Whatever. It'll be in the title. We saw that Sarah, she was getting faint and she nearly fell off the platform. Somebody caught her and they whisked her away. And so we picked up where we left off from that episode with that. So Sarah gets whisked away to the back, and Matt stops the rose ceremony to attend to her and figure out what's going on with her. And obviously everyone's like annoyed because the rose ceremony, at least the filming process, I know is a little bit lengthy. They're a lot longer than, like the 5 minutes that we get at the end of each episode. And obviously everyone's waiting with bated breath, especially Marilyn and Victoria, because they need to see who's gonna go home. So Matt walks away with Sarah and they get their special moment. She gets a little bit of private time, and everyone's a little annoyed by that as well. And, he's just making sure she's good. And when she's good, they return back, and the rose ceremony plays out. I don't remember exactly who leaves except Mari Lynn, so I guess whatever Victoria said to Matt was a lot more influential than we thought, and he didn't see the need to keep Mari Lynn. So that's what we have there. So then moving on, I'm just going to adjust my notes real quick. We go into, the group date. So I can't name all the people on the group date, doesn't really matter, but their group date is about erotic fiction. So Chris Harrison, he actually is like an adult books writer. He writes a lot of romantic books with a lot of pornographic scenes in it. And so it was the girls' turns to write erotic fiction about, I guess, them and Matt. And so we see Matt end up going first. We see Matt end up, no, sorry. Okay, so Ashley Ioniketti Habon now, I guess, because she's married to Jared, she was the one that introduced the group date, starting with an excerpt from Chris Harrison's book, The Perfect Letter. And then she introduces the date, tells the girls what they're about to do, and tells them that they'll be having an audience. So obviously it's quarantine. Who is going to be a part of this audience? But the other girls that weren't technically on the group date but are just sitting in the house, they bring them in. And then the girls that were on the group, they have to do this challenge. Matt is the first one to kind of open up the challenge, and I guess his is a little PG, romantic. It's just really suggestive. And then he goes to sits down, and then you see a montage of all the girls coming in to do their excerpts of like their erotic fiction. And obviously Katie, Miss Vibrator, on the first night, she went hard, but I guess it was tasteful. I don't know, at least a lot more tasteful than Victoria's. She went the hardest, as she usually does. She does everything full force. I'll give her that. And so, that was basically the storyline of that date. Everybody was in stitches when Victoria was doing her little section that she'd written. And so I guess now the girls are sort of gravitating towards Victoria. Like, her extraness is now being like accepted rather than like, oh, we hate her, which was what it was like the last 2 or 3 nights, right? So then we see that Rachel, they've been kind of sticking Rachel out a little bit. And I'm going to be honest, at the midway through this episode, I didn't think that she maybe had as much of a place in Matt's heart as I thought she did, because I was thinking like maybe Sarah is now taking over, but we're going to see at the end of the episode, Sarah self eliminates. So I still think Rachel is in the winning for Matt's heart. So they focus on Rachel and moving on from the group date. They have their, obviously their evening portion where he's supposed to hand out the group date rose, and he speaks to Sarah, and they have a really good connection, and they say, everything's really going well between them. And we go to the flip side where we're seeing all the girls from that didn't get picked for the group date, but were there to listen in on the stories from the group date. They're sitting down, and that's when Sarah starts to express that she's starting to feel, I guess, a little insecure, a little bit bothered about hearing all the things that all the other girls want to do with Matt, and it's getting to her. And so she ends up retiring to her room for the night, where everybody else is still talking about like what was said and what they're anticipating and all that sort of stuff. So just so Matt was talking to Rachel, and they kissed, obviously. And then when he left, when he comes back with Bree, and this is something that, like, because I guess we didn't have other, like, Black bachelors before, Black in air quotes, we'll get into that for another time. We never had other Black bachelors. We haven't seen when they, like, kiss the white women on the show that, like, their foundation rubs off on them. So every single time, oh my gosh, Matt looks like he just like snorted a line of something, I won't say. He just looks, or like he's been bathing in baby powder, like it's all over his face, their foundation. And so usually, like, I know that they're kissing other girls, like multiple girls in one night, and just the thought of it is kind of icky. But I didn't think about it so much until right now, when you see him sitting down with Bree and they're having their like little one-on-one session in this evening portion of the group date. And you just see like I don't know who he kissed before. I'm assuming it's Rachel, but you see like, the powdery foundation on his nose. And I'm like, no, on his lips actually. So it's just like, ew, if I was Bree, my name is Bre'anna, so I am Bree. But if I was her, Bree, I could not, I don't know if I could go back and like kiss you. Like, you didn't even, because that means like you didn't even bother to wipe it off. And I know like they don't think that deep into it to like wipe it off, but it's like the evidence is there. I'm sorry, I cannot kiss you. That was so to me. Like, I was gagging at that scene, because it's just like, he literally just kissed this other girl and now he's kissing you. And I know that's like been the case all the other episodes and all the other seasons, but just the evidence of it, because yeah, it was too much. So yeah, anyways, I'm saying yeah a lot. I apologize. My first review, I'll be more articulate some point. So then we see that Sarah, after she had retired, she's like really been thinking about this and it's playing on her. Like, she's feeling really insecure. She wants to go see Matt. She's contemplating leaving. So that's what she does. She gets up. I don't know how they sneak her out, but they sneak her out and sneak her past the girls on the group date and end up interrupting Katie's time with Sarah. I mean, Katie's time with Matt. So Sarah intrudes, and Katie is like, oh, okay, all right then. And she leaves, and she goes and she tells the girls like, oh my gosh, like, Sarah just hijacked my time with Matt or whatever. And so then they all get mad and they're like, what? Sarah's here? Like, why? Why is she here? What's going on? And in the meantime, you see that Sarah is telling Matt, that she's having a couple of misgivings, like she's experiencing a lot of self-doubt. She feels like she wants to leave, and he's giving her that reassurance. So then Victoria, obviously the one that's ready to start drama, she tells Katie, like, girl, you better go back in there, like, reclaim your time, like, puts the battery in her back. So then that's exactly what Katie does. Katie goes back in and interrupts Sarah and Matt talking to be like, Yeah, so like I don't know what you needed to say to him, but like can you wrap it up because you technically like interrupted me on our group date that you weren't technically supposed to be on. So hurry this up. And it just gets really awkward because Matt is just sitting there and Sarah's just like, I mean, can I get him like 5 more minutes? Can I just get like 5 more minutes with him? Like, I'm sorry, but I just need to talk to him, wrap this up. And she's like, okay, yeah, can that 5 minutes be 2 minutes? That's Katie to Sarah. Can that 5 minutes be 2 minutes? And she's like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I just want, enough time. Whatever the time is, and I need to like talk to him. I need that time. And so she's like, yeah, okay, like 2 minutes. Can you just give it 2 minutes? And Matt's like, okay, like, yeah, we'll give it 2 minutes, just whatever. So she walks away, but like not away. She's still in the room with them. So she's just hovering there while Matt and Sarah are talking. And so Matt's just like, yeah, so don't worry about what the girls are telling you. Don't feel, uh, insecure or doubt. Just know that I want you there. Just, ignore all that noise and know that you're here and you're wanted and I want to keep pursuing things with you. So that must have been hard for Katie, I think, to like hear him give another girl validation. I don't know if he's giving her that validation, but she obviously hasn't had like a breakdown that she would need it, but still, that'd be weird. And it's just weird because they're all in this room and she's just like the fly on the wall, but really she's the very obvious girl in the corner listening to them talk. So then finally, she's like, yeah, okay, I guess we're gonna wrap this up. And then she comes back in and she's like, so like, are you guys done? Are you guys done talking? And so Sarah's like, yeah, Matt, can you just walk me out, please? Because this girl. And Matt walks her out, and then they proceed to kiss on his way walking her out. And then she decides to leave. And I guess clearly there's multiple exits and entrances because the way she exits this time, she ends up running into the other girls from the group date. And they're all like, what's up? And she's like, sorry guys, like I needed to talk to Matt or whatever. I just wanted to tell you guys first that, I came here to talk to Matt. And they're like, well, yeah, you came a little too late because Katie already told us that you interrupted her time and you basically interrupted all of us, all's, our time on this date to speak to him. And it's just like, what did you have to speak to him about? What was so serious that you needed to take time from us to address your issues with him, like right now, freely? And they won't really let her get a word in edgewise, and she doesn't exactly explain herself too much either. And not that I feel as if she needs to. She doesn't need to go into detail. I needed to speak to him. Don't worry about what I needed to say to him. I just needed to speak to him. But they wanted more than that, and I guess they felt as if they didn't get enough explanation, whatever. So she ends up leaving. And then, she does her little like interviews outside with the producers. And then Victoria comes to confront her and she's just like, listen, I'm not here to like come for you. I'm just trying to figure out like what's going on. Like, are you good? And just also to let you know that that's messed up. Like, I understand you might need to speak to him, but I don't think now was the time to do it. And then Katie comes back. So I don't know what exactly she ended up speaking to Matt about because they never showed it to us. It might have not been anything of substance. And then she also comes to explain to Sarah that, she understands that she needed to speak to him, but maybe now was not the time to speak to him. So they talk to Sarah. Sarah leaves. And then you go back to the girls and all the girls are like, in a huff, like, that was so unfair. We needed that time, whatever. But then they all are like, oh, but it's okay. Like, we're going to get our time now. That part of the night is over. We're going to move on. We're going to move forward. And, the producers, but like, they did it on purpose. Anytime they get all optimistic, they know the girls are like, no, it's okay. We're going to have more time. We'll have more time. There's more time in the day. That's exactly when Matt walks in. Because I'm pretty sure it's by the producers prodding, they probably tell him like, okay, it's time to conclude the group date. So all the girls can be in a tizzy and be like, oh my gosh, like I never got to speak to him. So it was about 3 people that didn't get to speak to him. It was Serena, I think C, because the other one is P, and the other one gets the one-on-one. So Serena C, then I believe Lauren, and then there was Kayla. And and I can't remember her name. I think her name is Anna because she reminds me of Hannah Brown, right? I think that's her. So those 4 people at the very least did not get to speak to Matt that night, and they were very upset about it. So that just kind of like elevates things. Like I feel as if had they been able to speak to him, like everyone had been able to speak to him that night despite Sarah interrupting, everything that played out wouldn't have played out that way. But because there were people that really were affected by it and they weren't given time because she interrupted, apparently that's what like elevated things to another level. You know what I'm saying? So because Matt obviously didn't get to speak to these 4 people, and um he was interrupted and he had a really weird awkward time with Katie, the person that ends up getting the group date rose is Rachel. I think we need to watch out for Rachel because they focus on her even when like she's not the most important thing in the room. They focus on her, so watch out for that. So then we go back to, I think, the next day, the cut to the next day. Let me see what I wrote. Yeah, cut to the next day. We find out Serena P is the one that gets the one-on-one, and that Katie is filling in the girls from the night before who weren't invited on the group date the day before, that Sarah had interrupted her in the middle of her conversation with Matt, and none of them knew this, so everyone's obviously upset with her and bothered by the fact that she got extra time with him when they didn't. So, then Serena's getting ready for her date with Matt. Matt comes in, and Sarah has still been locked up in her room the whole night, apparently. Um, and so Matt comes in and he wants to express himself and I guess to apologize to the girls, but we never get to see that part because he immediately starts looking for Sarah. He's like, oh yeah, I know something happened with me and Sarah. Sarah, where are you, Sarah? They're like, oh, Sarah's up in her room. So he's like, okay, Serena, like I know we have a date, um, but just give me like 5 minutes. Let me handle stuff with Sarah first, and then I'll be right with you. So he goes up to Sarah's room, and they end up talking. And he just gives her all the reassurance in the world that, like, hey, I appreciated you interrupting the date yesterday. I was so happy to see you. If you ever have any doubt about whether I want you here, whether you should be here, like, I want you here. Just know that if I need to come here every single day and reassure you that I want you here, I will do that. So I think that's a lot of like reassurance so early on. I've never seen that before, sorry. Um and so yeah, he comes back downstairs and then he whisks Serena P off to their date. Let me see what I wrote. So anyways, yes, him and Serena go on the date. I think personally, as far as all the one-on-ones have gone so far, they have the best like banter, the best playfulness, and I think that speaks a lot more to a good relationship rather than, I don't know what had him so like sprung off Sarah. And him and Rachel, I guess they're cool, they're cute. Um I can't remember her name, and I definitely don't want to risk, you know, call her the deaf girl. I will get her name. I don't mean that obviously in any derogatory way. She is deaf, and she has cochlear implants. But yeah, I don't want to call her just that. Her name escapes me right now. So she got his first impression rose, but I haven't seen them like go anywhere beyond that. I think so far from what I've seen, I think the best connection he has is with Serena P, if you were to ask me. But he was really, really sprung on Sarah. So once again, like not entirely sure. So they talk about the fact that he liked turtles as a kid. and she playfully teases him, and they have like donkeys that keep interrupting like all their cute like kissy moments. And it was really sweet. They're taking like Polaroid pictures with them and the donkey. Oh my god, like I like that date. That was the best date so far, and I think it was the most connection. And I think Serena is just a really wonderful girl as far as I can see. So then they go into the night portion of their date and they talk about like their prior relationships. And Serena was in one serious relationship prior, and she thought, he would be the one. Obviously, he wasn't. And then she asks Matt, like, were you ever in love before in your prior relationships? And he says, looking back, he knows that he was never really in love. Yes, me too, Matt. I have never been in love. I'm 24. And I also like turtles. That's not me trying to like holla. That's just me saying I see some similarities between me and the lead. So yeah, anyways, then he gives her the group date. He gives her the one-on-one rose, and then they go into a hot tub, and he has on turtle boxers. He really loves his turtles. I love turtles. It's just because I'm not in my room. I would show you my little like turtle figurine that I have. I love turtles. Okay, they're the cutest things. Well, really tortoises, because they're like the land ones. The turtles, like, you got to be in the water, and I just want like a little land pet turtle. I'm gonna get a turtle at some point. Um, so then we see that they go to call out, I think, another group date or something of the sort. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, another group date. And so that time Sarah does finally come downstairs from her little exile room, and she just kind of like sits down, and it was just really weird, the timing of it. Like, maybe the producers are like, Sarah, you need to come downstairs now, like we're calling out the names for the next group date or whatever. So she's on that group date, she's supposed to be. And then after they finish reading out the names on the card, the girl starts to confront her about how, she just wants to pop up now, and she's been avoiding them all this time, and that's obviously her guilty conscience playing at her. So at first it's MJ that confronts Sarah when she comes down, and then Victoria steps in because she loves drama. And every single word, Victoria just, ooh, it's so annoying. Every single word that Sarah says, she interrupts her, and she's like, is anybody listening to this? Like, who cares? Like, who is she talking to? What is she going on about? Blah, 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 blah. All the girls gang up on her. Then Serena C calls her out for being manipulative and saying that, she's purposely isolating herself from the girls and doesn't want to participate, and doing all of this so that way Matt will like seek her out specifically and give her all that attention that she's wanting, and they think that she's purposely being manipulative. I don't know whose side I'm on with this. Part of me says that she's doing the most, and she definitely is stepping on toes and doesn't care about it. Another part of me is just like, when you're really like in your feelings and you're depressed and everything, it's not coming from necessarily like a malicious place, but more so like, I am not, I don't want to play along right now. I don't. And if he wants to go out of his way to like comfort me, like that's on him. Like, I'm not the one telling him like, Matt, come see me. He comes to see me. Like, I don't know what you guys want me to do. So I don't know. Like, he's the one that's giving her the attention that she really needs. You know what I'm saying? She could do all these things, and if he didn't care about her, it wouldn't really affect the girls. But because he does, he keeps going out of his way to comfort her. That's really what's bothering them, not what she's doing. Because if she did it and she wasn't getting those reactions that she needed out of him, then it wouldn't be such a problem to the girls. They'd just be like, girl, go home. Like, clearly you can't handle it, just leave. So then, yeah. But I do see where Victoria was saying, like, what? So you're gonna just be fussy the whole rest of the time because he has to date other girls. So why can't you just be a team sport and just get in to fit in? Like everyone else is doing it. Nobody likes seeing him kissing the other girls when they're making connections. So why do you think you're any different? Just play along and shut up and stop acting like you're special and this, that, and the third. I get both their sides. I think ultimately, mm, I guess I am on the majority of the girls' sides, just like, you could have spoken to him at a later time about this. And I mean, I understand that emotions can come fast, but I think it's a little too fast to be already so like fussy and like hurt that he's talking to. I don't know, but I'm on the girl side if you guys wanted to know. So let me know in the comments below like what you think. Whose side were you on? Do you think that they were ganging up on her like unfairly? Like, do you think that they needed to be more understanding? Were you on their side? Were you on her side? Let me know. And then she's just trying to make amends with the girls. I believe genuinely like she wants to. And Kit basically threatens her in a way, and she just says like, we're gonna make the rest of your time here unbearable, just so you know, like, stay away from me, don't talk to me. Everybody is just like shutting her down when she wants to speak to them and make amends with them and just move on from everything. So then this is the part that I had a trouble with. My Wi-Fi, I watch the show on my computer for the most part. And so my Wi-Fi just happened to cut out right when I guess Katie approached Sarah to ask her if everything was okay. Because obviously, everyone had turned her back on her. She was being ostracized. So she goes to speak to Sarah, I guess, because I didn't get to see that part. And then Sarah talks to Katie, and I assume she opens up about her dad having ALS and maybe other things that she's struggling with. And then the next thing I see is that she's going to go to Matt. And so she goes to Matt. That's when I was finally able to come downstairs here in my living room and watch the show on the big screen. So she basically tells Matt that she has decided to take herself out of the competition for various reasons, and also because the girls were ganging up on her. And Matt tries to reassure her and tells her that he doesn't want her to leave. And for a moment there, I really thought he had convinced her to stay. And maybe she was just doing this all once again to, kind of throw all the girls under the bus. And then to do a complete 180 and say that she wanted to stay. But no, she stuck to her guns, and she decided that she really is leaving. So I really thought that this was not how it was going to play out, and that I had already pegged the winner. But she took herself out of the competition. So bye, Sarah. Praying for your dad, like Matt said. Hope everything's good. I wish she would have stuck it out a little bit longer, but it is what it is. And she's like crying in the back seat. Now, this might be a little controversial, but I don't think she was really crying. I don't know. I kind of feel like a bit of it was a little opportunistic, and she acted that last part out, because I don't know. I didn't see any tears. I know her face got a little bit red, and it is emotional, so I could see like it, it coming up in her face a little bit, but I don't remember seeing any tears. Like, she did really good at like shielding her face, so I didn't see any tears running down, nor did I see like even like a glisten on her cheek, like, oh, maybe there were tears, but she wiped it away. But like the moistness is still there, the dewiness is still there. A couple seconds later, when she lifts her head up, and she's just like, it's just dry expulsions of air. She's just like, like, I could look like I'm crying too if I did that. So I don't know. Personally, I thought it was a little bit melodramatic. And she's like, he knows my heart. He knows that I'm here for my family and this. And I don't know. Something about it right at the end just read disingenuous to me. But yeah, so we're left on a cliffhanger about what's going to happen for the rest of the time being. But the new girls are going to come this next episode. So yeah, I'm rushing right at the end because I don't want to hit 30. So what am I doing this for? So I'm signing off. That was my review. Please engage with me in the comments below, and I will be consistent with this. So have a good night, you guys. Thank you. Bye.